Hello and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for joining us once again. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. Now the details. President Muhammadu Buhari is presiding over the 7th meeting of the Federal Executive Council for the year 2021, now ongoing at the Presidential Villa. The meeting is the 36th to be held virtually since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic in February last year. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, Chief of Staff to the President Ibrahim Gambari, and 10 ministers are physically in the Executive Council chambers. The Head of Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, and other members of the Council are participating online from their various offices in Abuja. Various memoranda from ministries, departments, and agencies are billed for consideration in furtherance of efforts at taking Nigeria to the next level of socio-economic development. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is expected to brief the cabinet on the creation of additional polling units in the country. Shortly before going into a closed session, a moment of silence was observed in honor of the late Mohammed Inua Bakari, who died recently at the age of 88. The deceased was a former Secretary of Commerce and Tourism between January to August 1993. Meanwhile, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to the Global Green Energy Initiative, stressing that the forthcoming deployment of 5 million solar power connections targeting 25 million households across the country under the Economic Sustainability Plan is a just transition to net zero emissions by 2050. Vice President Osinbajo made the submissions during a meeting with a delegation of the European Union led by its Executive Vice President Valdis Dombrovskis, while maintaining the advocacy that the international community should preserve financing for gas projects in Nigeria and other developing countries during the transition to net zero emission. Discussions at the meeting held virtually focused on bilateral investment agreements between Nigeria and the EU, cutting across diverse areas including technology, intellectual property rights, research and innovation, humanitarian assistance, energy access, and renewable energy. The Vice President said the federal government's commitment to energy transition is firm, as it is considered an area of comparative advantage the nation is hoping to leverage while working on improving the investment environment. Also emphasizing the need to leverage opportunities to build a stronger partnership with the EU in the gas sector, the Vice President said Nigeria will explore the caveat in the EU Green Energy Financing Instrument to seek better ways of financing for gas projects in the country. On his part, the Executive Vice President of the EU Commission, Valdis Dombrovskis, spoke on the importance of reviewing investment agreements between Nigeria and the EU, disclosing the Commission's plan to increase its external investment capacities. The Senate has called for immediate commencement of work on the suspended Badagry-Sokoto Expressway, initiated in 1978. This followed the motion by Senator Sadiq Umar, which observed that the road project abandoned in 1979 connects 12 states and 3 countries of Benin, Togo, and Niger. The road, which was part of the 4th National Development Plan, when completed, is expected to boost agricultural activities and provide adequate linkage between rural and urban centers. The Senate resolved to mandate its committees on works, finance, national planning and economic development to meet with the management of the Ministry of Works and the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency for a sustainable solution to the stunted nature of the road. Now, the Federal Inland Revenue Service has resolved to put in place an improved technology for automated tax collection in the year 2021. This is contained in a submission by the chairman of the service, Mohammed Nami, on the budget's target before the Senate Committee on Finance. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
The primary objective of the 2021 budget by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, according to Mohammed Nami, is to achieve optimal assessment and collection of tax for the federal government. The possibility of marginal reduction in the taxable income of taxpayers due to the effect of COVID-19 pandemic, according to him, is what necessitated the new strategies.
We already have the workforce. We will now open this rural tax offices in about 160 locations and send staff that are currently not doing enough in the offices to those locations so that we're able to improve on our tax collection.
We have listened to you. This is the first leg of the transaction. The second leg is into the nitty-gritty of what is contained in this document.
The committee appreciated the effort of the FIRS towards achieving 7% non-oil revenue in 2021 as against the 4% in 2020. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has identified lack of access to polling units as a major challenge facing electoral process in Nigeria. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this during an engagement with the National Assembly Joint Committee on INEC and Electoral Matters on how best to give Nigerians access to vote. Dayo Ogunshola reports.
Inadequacy of polling units created since 1999, according to INEC, has continued to create a crisis of access to vote among Nigerians, with many negative impacts.
The National Assembly should know that the Commission is making efforts to build a national consensus to solve the crisis, learning from previous unsuccessful attempts. And then we want the National Assembly to support the Commission to convert existing voting points to polling units and to relocate some of them to underserved areas.
The leadership of the National Assembly expressed readiness to support the Commission to deliver on its mandate.
We are going to be up and doing. We'll make sure we provide for INEC those resources that will make you perform your work wonderfully well.
To design and adopt a decision-making model that builds confidence and gives people the confidence to accept that this process is not designed to benefit one group.
INEC promised to continue its engagements with critical stakeholders until adequate access is created for all Nigerians to vote. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution to carry out an investigation on allegations of diversion of crude oil meant for domestic supply. In a motion raised by Representative Abubakar Maki Aleman, the House noted that the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation reported that between June 2018 and July 2019, almost half of the 10.9 million barrels of crude oil allocated for domestic supply was diverted, costing the country $339 million revenue deficit. The lawmakers therefore resolved to investigate allocation of crude oil under the Direct Sale, Direct Purchase Scheme, DSDP, and crude oil allocation to refineries. The effort by the House of Representatives to establish additional food and drugs administration and control laws in the country is said to be a duplication of mandates with the existing laws in that direction. This was the collective view of stakeholders at the public hearing on 6 bills seeking for more consumer protection laws by the House Committee on Healthcare Services. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
One of the bills, which seeks to merge 3 bills into one, also want to amend the Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control Act, while another one is for the establishment of the National Food Safety and Hygiene Surveillance Corps. There are also bills for the establishment of National Agency for Food Technology Development and National Electronic Health Record System.
We need a more explicit description of our functions in terms of controlling clinical trials in Nigeria.
You are just changing the nomenclature. So my appeal, sir, this bill should be step aside.
Most of their functions are embedded in what the Nigerian Council for Food Science and Technology function is.
The aim of the bills, according to the committee, is to protect consumers from unsanitary, contaminated and adulterated food and drugs, which will serve as the foundation for building a strong health delivery.
When these 6 bills become law, they will each serve to improve our national health system in specific and significant ways.
To look at the bottlenecks that serve as a standing block in preventing us to achieve the goal as envisaged by the sponsors of those bills.
Submissions were also made on a bill to amend the compulsory treatment and care for victims of gunshots, and that to amend the National Health Act 2004. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
We now pause for some messages. The news continues shortly. Do stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying. The first locally assembled electric car has been unveiled at the House of Representatives. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The National Automotive Design and Development Council is the brain behind this feat. Showcasing the electric vehicle to the House Committee on Public Accounts, the Director General of the Council, Jelani Aliu, says the car could travel for 482 kilometers and does not use petrol or diesel.
We're working on building charging stations along the way. Right now we're doing 3 pilot programs with 3 universities. University of Lagos, University of Nigeria and Nsukka, University of Ofodio University. We will understand the challenges of superchargers, and then we hope to expand it in collaboration with the private sector to all sectors, to all localities in Nigeria.
The council, he adds, is currently working with 3 domestic banks to provide single-digit interest financing for a variety of vehicles to be made or assembled in Nigeria. The Chairman House Committee on Public Accounts, Oluwole, expressed satisfaction on this development.
It is a pleasurable drive, no noise, calm.
The council brought the electric vehicle to the National Assembly to justify to the committee utilization of funds it received over the years, sequel to a query from the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Ministerial Task Force on the NIN SIM registration, chaired by Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, has, at a 4th review meeting, approved the establishment of dedicated SIM swap centers across the local government areas by telecommunications companies, telcos. A joint statement by NIMSI's Head of Corporate Communications, Kayode Adegoke, and Director of Public Affairs, Nigerian Communications Commission, indicates that approval was also given for the extension of the tenure of NIN enrollment agent licenses for the telcos from 1 to 5 years in consideration of their satisfactory performance, subject to continuous monitoring. This is a deliberate effort of the federal government to simplify the enrollment process for Nigerians and legal residents. The technical committee was, however, mandated to complete the development of a new SIM issuance strategy that cannot be compromised, especially through pre-registration by some agents, while a multi-sectoral ad hoc committee has been tasked to immediately complete the review of the process for new SIM activations for legal residents staying in Nigeria for less than 24 months. Membership of the committee was drawn from NCC, NIMSI, Nigeria Immigration Service, and the Association of Licensed Telecoms Operators of Nigeria, ALTON. The federal government expects that these measures will bring SIM swap centers closer to Nigerians regardless of their location. As the world grapples with the coronavirus pandemic, global attention is being drawn to the continued unhealthy exploitation of wildlife, which is increasing risks of zoonotic diseases, climate disruptions, extreme weather conditions, biodiversity, and livelihood losses in many countries. The United Nations 2021 World Wildlife Day, commemorated on the 3rd of March, is therefore a call for global action to use nature in a sustainable manner for the good of humans and the planet. Onengie Fineface tells us more.
Forests are home to some 80% of all terrestrial wild species. They help regulate the climate and support the livelihoods of hundreds of millions of people.
Our forests are both beautiful and bountiful. They offer us rich biodiversity. They provide air that is cleaner and fresher. And they are a space for recreation, for balance, and for reprieve.
The 2021 United Nations World Wildlife Day with the theme Forests and Livelihoods, Sustaining People and Planet highlights the central role of forest ecosystems in sustaining indigenous and local communities in line with the Sustainable Development Goals.
So, on this year's World Wildlife Day, I urge governments, businesses and people everywhere to scale up efforts to conserve forests and forest species, and to support and listen to the voices of forest communities.
In Nigeria, the federal government is responding to biodiversity loss by increasing the number of national parks from 7 to 17 and placing necessary regulations to protect wildlife in the country.
We have regulations on invasive control of invasive species. We have regulations on access to genetic and beneficial. We have regulations on protection of endangered species.
World Wildlife Day 2021 also seeks to eradicate timber trafficking, which accounts for tropical deforestation, address organized crime groups and illegal trade in wild animal species, which is increasing risks of zoonotic diseases such as Ebola and COVID-19. In Abuja, Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
Still staying with wildlife, let's see how Lagos is commemorating the day as we join Hingino. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Lydia. March 3 every year brings to the consciousness of many around the world the need to preserve and conserve wildlife beauty and the ecosystem. Lynn Leneke in this report takes a look at the importance of the day.
In few years to come, Nigerian children, like many in other climes, may only have to read about certain wild animals like giraffe, sharks, gorillas, zebra, and monkeys, and never have the opportunity to see them even in the zoo. This is because of the harmful practices that have continued to threaten the survival of these species of wildlife.
For instance, there is a place called Igboeleri in Lagos. If you get there now, you see buildings. All those animals there, all those elephants there are being killed.
In Nigeria, the Endangered Species Act of 1985 prohibits the hunting of or trading in the animals specified in the Act as required under certain international treaties to which Nigeria is signatory. World Wildlife Day is used to raise awareness and highlights the role of forests, species, and ecosystem services in sustaining them.
Nature always fights back, and we need to have that into our consciousness. That what is going on now is actually just the reaction of nature against what we have done to her.
This aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 1, 12, 13, and 15.
Government will study the economic importance of wildlife conservation so that we can see how, one, is going to improve on our tourism, two, how it's going to improve on our hospitality businesses, how it's going to improve on so many things that at the end of the day will improve our economy.
Theme for this year's observance is Sustaining People and the Planet. These wide-ranging commitments on alleviating poverty, ensuring sustainable use of resources, and conserving life on land, according to experts, will promote healthy ecological balance and marine species, which are as important as humans. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
Away from World Wildlife Day, motorists have continued to besiege petrol stations across Lagos in what has been described as panic buying due to hoarding of the product. This situation has caused traffic on major roads where fuel stations are located, while there has been a sharp rise in the cost of transportation. Imole Ayotokede Ogunfowora has this situation reports.
In spite of the rumored scarcity of fuel across the metropolis, most filling stations are open and are selling fuel to customers. This development reflects the recent statement by the NNPC, which says it has no plans to increase the ex-depot price of petrol in March 2021.
There was speculation at some point that maybe there was going to be some impending scarcity, but I've not experienced that.
Other filling stations that is opened, they are selling above the pump price. I bought 168 against the normal pump price of 160, 162. It's not like the fuel is not, the product is not available. It's available, but it's the price is very, very high.
In this place we are standing, you can see people are buying their fuel at the normal distance here. So we haven't experienced any queue here.
While some filling stations close early in the evening, others remain shut due to alleged hoarding of fuel.
Nigerians are supposed to enjoy fuel because it belongs to everybody here. In fact, the Nigerians should have a price for fuel different from what they sell outside.
Lagosians, however, expressed fear over an imminent fuel scarcity if the situation is not addressed effectively. In Lagos, Imole Ayotokede Ogunfowora, NTA News.
There are over 40 bridges in Lagos which are critical to daily transportation needs. However, one bridge remains a talking point as the busiest and longest of the three bridges connecting the island and mainlands of Lagos. Dotun Ogunyemi reports on measures taken to maintain this important bridge in Nigeria's commercial capital.
It was the fulfillment of a promise kept after over 7 months of repair works on the third mainland bridge, which officially reopened on the 28th of February 2021. This development, which had been delayed on several occasions, came as a huge relief to motorists.
But now, since the bridge is open, I think today I really enjoyed my ride. It was so smooth, and well, kudos to the federal government.
In a city like Lagos, where movement is fast-paced and end-to-end, the third mainland bridge is one critical infrastructure that delivers this need. As at today, the bridge handles over 70,000 cars in a straight traffic flow on a daily basis. Although repairs on the bridge's superstructure have been completed, necessitating the full reopening, the rehabilitation project is far from over.
Many negotiators, they didn't know that the bridge was suspended on jacks, and the traffic was still ongoing. So we are going to do the same thing on the other side, which is on the inbound to Lagos.
This latest rehabilitation was carried out on an area of 3.5 kilometers between Adekunle and Adeniji ends of the bridge.
With this comprehensive maintenance, what we are left with is only the periodic one, which are minor ones, and which will be going on periodically.
According to the ministry, A total sum of 4 billion naira will be expended on the emergency rehabilitation and maintenance of the third mainland bridge. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
For more stories on Nationwide, it's now back to Lydia in Abuja.
Many thanks, Ingino. The recent tensions that flooded some schools in parts of the country following abductions of students dominated national discourse on a wide range, with firm commitment by government to tackle the reoccurring breach of peace and secure learning environment at all fronts. These resolutions were born out of the burning desires to nip in the bud the growing phenomenon of threats to peace by bandits and other criminal elements, resonated during NTA Current Affairs program Tuesday Live. Abubakar Usman Akwanga monitored the program.
Apprehension and disappear brought by bandits across schools in some of the northwest and north-central states have plunged many families into a pool of tears and endless sorrows. These unfortunate incidents are propelling tougher government approach to contain the criminal use of force by bandits to adopt students and demand ransom for their release.
We must be prepared to take the fight to them, but we must not, for any reason, close school because some are going into to kidnap our children. What we need to do is to beef up the security in those schools.
Governors now prepared to ensure that we fence all the boarding schools and also ensure that we have security for all boarding schools. Otherwise, we'll continue to have some of these kidnappings going on. People commit criminality and they go away free. If we have them in some places, let us show evidence that they are being prosecuted and also they are jailed.
Commitment of stakeholders is also frowning at negotiation with bandits and shifting attention to addressing farmers' herders' crisis, improve nomadic system, and create platforms for continued dialogue.
People have been monetized. They have weaponized it. Big girls, big boys, these are soft targets. They are vulnerable. They are defenseless. They can be picked. You pick them, you get 20 million, 40 million. Why do I have to go and spend my time in the market trying to earn 100 a day?
We should go beyond this traditional, thinking of security. If we know that our borders are porous and the arms are coming from within our borders, I think that that's just one aspect. What about the arms that have been produced within the country?
As stakeholders' efforts are being intensified through Safe School Initiative and robust security network, the collective desire of meeting national aspiration remain key as future conversations on security continue to dominate the media space. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Efforts have continued towards the quest for a more accountable Nigerian police force, particularly in the area of human rights violations. Part of such efforts came again this week through a Situation Room update held in Abuja between human rights, civil society organizations, and the Nigerian police. Femi Okeo reports.
It's not the first attempt to inculcate into the Nigerian police human rights values and tenets. In fact, for as far back as 2010-2011, various civil society bodies like Power, sponsored by foreign donors, had taken the human rights gospel round all police formations across Nigeria. In fact, human rights courses are part of the curriculum of the Police Staff College in Wudil. But with the NSAS outburst by the Nigerian population, the civil society organizations and indeed the Nigerian police acknowledge that there's so much to be done. So, at the Safe Situation Room held in Abuja, both the police and several concerned civil society organizations put on the discussion table other areas that need to be tackled.
We believe strongly that accountability is one of the key measures or key ways of curbing impunity. Impunity with regards to human rights violations by security agencies, not limited, of course, to Nigerian police. Having a transparent, efficient system will go a long way in improving enjoyment of human rights.
We don't want to run into the same pitfall that SARS fell into by reason of duplicity. What we're trying to do is to make sure that If we're going to replicate ourselves across the states, we have to do that carefully.
With the signing of the Police Act in 2020, the first review of the police since 1948, stakeholders hope that problematic areas of police operations will now be easier to pick out. In Abuja, Femi Okeowo, NTA News.
Nigerians have been told to desist from violence and killings irrespective of discrepancy, misunderstanding, and anger. Director General National Boundary Commission Adamu Adaji, who gave the advice, says the federal government is doing everything possible to resolve all boundary disputes in the country. Charity James has more.
Boundary dispute between Usaka Uku community in Ukwanu local government area of Abia State and Nkari community in Ini local government area of Akwa Ibom State is one of the recent boundary disputes that started in 2020. The land dispute is alleged to have led to ambush, violence, and destruction of lives in the two communities. Hence, the move by the federal government through the National Boundary Commission. The purpose is to enable NBC have a physical view of the actual site of the bone of contention for proper demarcation and sensitization of the people on the need to remain calm for peaceful coexistence.
We thank His Excellency for his commitment and thank Akwa Ibom State Government for its commitment and encouragement and support in our efforts to get the boundary between Abia and Akwa Ibom properly defined and demarcated.
The State Deputy Governor and Chairman of Akwa Ibom State Boundary Committee, Mr. Moses Ekpo, frowned at the actions, saying killings were not necessary as no parcel of land is worth dying for.
It is only peaceful coexistence that can make us develop. And now that you see where this place is, in the interim, to enable you do what you need to do, ask the federal government to bring a federal institution to this massive land.
And Nkari in Akwa Ibom State, Charity James, NTA News.
Let's bring you more stories as we join Susan in our Makudi Network Center. Hello, Susan.
Good to see you, Lydia, and welcome to Makudi. Benue State Governor Samuel Otom has launched the National Mass Metering Scheme of the Jos Electricity Distribution Company to ensure metering of all customers in the state. The governor performed the ceremony in Makudi when he received the Chairman Board of Directors, Jos Electricity Distribution Company, JED, Inoa Babangida, and his delegation on a courtesy visit. Charles Abba reports that the governor urged the management of JED to ensure there is local content in their recruitment to help provide effective security for their facilities.
Billing, estimated billing, and non-availability of meters have been difficulties electricity consumers have continued to grapple with in many parts of the country. Benue State Governor Samuel Otom, who launched the national metering scheme of the Jos Electricity Distribution Company, said, light is the life wire of any organization and plays a vital role in wealth creation. The governor therefore appealed for the extension of the 33 kVA line to industrial layout Makudi to encourage production.
Last year we provided in bulk 60 transformers for the operations here. We are willing to do more.
Chairman, Board of Directors, Jos Electricity Distribution Company, Inoa Babangida, said the mass metering scheme has 28,000 meters to be distributed in the first phase in Benue State. He added that the company will embark on replacement of obsolete cables with galvanized steel towers to boost power supply in various parts of the state.
We are also improving supplies in Otupo from there to Enugu Road in Otupo. We are also improving supplies to many other areas that we think will improve the socio-economic well-being of the state.
He maintained that the support of the state government is key to actualizing the set goals. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Benue State government is to fast-track operations of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, in its fight against fake and substandard products in the country. Governor Samuel Otom gave the indication when the Director General of the organization, Farouk Salim, visited him at the government house. Abba has the details.
Nigerians have continued to raise concern over influx of fake and substandard products in the country, a phenomenon that has negative effects on all facets of the economy. It is to help curb the menace in Benue State that Governor Samuel Otom pledged to provide enabling environment for the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, which is saddled with the mandate of regulating the activities. The governor, who acknowledged sharp practices by some individuals and organizations in the production and importation businesses, commended SON for its efforts in mitigating the effects.
I've seen Standard Organization of Nigeria as part of me. And so whatever you achieve in the Standard Organization of Nigeria will somehow be a pride not just to you and your management and staff, but also to me, because
Director General, Standard Organization of Nigeria, Farouk Salim, thanked Governor Otom for the gesture and remarked that the organization would put up a store and laboratory in the state to ensure quick response to issues of fake and substandard products.
We have so many questions here and that we definitely help and represent, and we are looking forward to cooperating with various institutions here to do whatever we need to do to help train and explain to people who are trying to build their organizations or businesses going.
In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Size of our package from Makudi. Kemi is standing by in Ibadan after the break.
Welcome to Ibadan. An interstate joint committee to address the challenges of internally displaced persons is to be set up by the Oyo and Kwara state governments. This decision is following a closed-door security meeting between Governors Seyi Makinde of Oyo and Abdurrahman Abdrazak of Kwara State, held in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Ayomiku Ajibola has the details.
Briefing newsmen after the closed-door meeting, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde appreciated the effort of the security agencies in the two states, charging them to deepen their intelligence gathering efforts with a view to dealing more decisively with the security challenges facing the country. The joint team, according to the governor, is to work out modalities on how the two states could mutually address the security challenges within their territories and to also seek alignment and collaboration on economic and security fronts.
Also, the National Livestock Transformation Plan is currently not implemented in Oyo State, but Kwara State have started its implementation over a year ago, so we believe that there are lateral learning from Kwara State, and this should lead to further collaboration at the economic and security levels.
The meeting had in attendance Governor Seyi Makinde and his Kwara State counterpart, Abdurrahman Abdrazak, as well as service commander from the two states, including the General Officer commanding 2 Division, Nigeria Army, the commissioners of police of both states, among others. Also in attendance were major traditional rulers from Kwara State. In Ibadan, Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
Osun State Panel of Inquiry on Police Brutality, Human Rights Abuses and other related matters says the panel has no power to award financial compensation to petitioners. Chairman of the panel, Justice Akin Oladimiji, made the clarification on the jurisdiction of the panel as it continues hearing on few other petitions left before it. Wasiu Rauf has the report.
Osun Judicial Panel of Inquiry on Police Brutality, Human Rights Abuses and other related matters had received 3 petitions, out of which 22 have been disposed of, including 12 petitions struck out for lack of diligent prosecution. However, a lot of the petitioners are seeking financial compensation, which the chairman of the panel, retired Justice Akin Oladimeji, explained could only come as a way of recommendation by the panel, but not to award financial compensation, as it is beyond the panel's jurisdiction.
It's not going to be equal recommendation. It depends on the amounts to be allocated to any petitioner will depend on the injury he suffered. It's not necessarily physical injury, emotional distress, death. Such things will determine what will accrue to each petitioner.
While 11 cases are still pending, 3 of them have reached final stage of adoption of written addresses by councils. In Oshogbo, Wasil, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. Lydia, it's back to you.
Many thanks, Kemi. Skill acquisition and sustainable livelihoods among pastoralists have been identified as panacea to incessant farmer-herders conflict bedeviling the country. This was position of people of vested interest as they brainstorm at a 3-day capacity building on how to effectively engage nomadic education field-level extension agents in peace resolutions and conflicts management. Yahanasu Hassan Barau has details.
Open grazing, an age-long tradition among the Fulani nomads, now poses serious threat to peace and security, resulting into loss of lives and property, among others, in crop farmers in many parts of Nigeria. To stem the spate of the spontaneous and planned attacks, the National Commission for Nomadic Education is evolving a robust and workable strategy through field-level extension agents drawn from 6 geopolitical zones to avail them with a blueprint to tackle the growing devastatation. Zara'u Muhammad Bawa and Ibrahim Abdullahi from Kebbi and Kaduna states are among the field food soldiers who traveled several kilometers to gather ideas on conflict management between farmers and herders.
Now is at least a 2-day training that I will pass all the information I receive here.
On the education of the nomads, I will enlighten them to take their children to school.
They were trained on peace building, conflict management and resolution, as well as wealth creation, among others.
They are going to like livestock productions. So all these things, by the time they now train them, and they will now go to the community to step it down.
They say the idle mind is a devil workshop. So I think it's important to catch them young and also give them those skills. So that
with such kind of training, Zarawa and Ibrahim, like many others, believed that the terrifying situation in some parts of the country will be brought to the barest minimum. In Kano, Yahana Sahasambaro, NTA News.
Justice Taiwo Oladipupo Taiwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, on Wednesday stopped proceedings in the ongoing trial of the former head of service of the Federation, Mrs. Winifred Oyoita, and others. The judge, while recusing himself from continuing the trial, accused EFCC of forum shopping in filing another suit, freezing her account. Olabode Arewa has more.
The former head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoita, has mounted the dock for the continuation of her trial for the alleged fraud of 570 million naira when the court informed the parties of his decision to stop the proceedings. Justice Taiwo hinged his decision on the EFCC embarking on what he termed as forum shopping, an action in which the EFCC obtained an ex parte order for the freezing of the bank accounts of Oyoita and 3 other defendants in the matter before another court, which Justice Taiwo described as an abuse of court process. The court said the action of the anti-graft agency in attempting to get a favorable court judgment for a matter before him is reprehensible and condemnable. The judge subsequently suspended the trial indefinitely.
You file a charge here before a judge, and then he went to another court to get a preservative order. That was unnecessary.
The judge just delivered its ruling. We have no comment for now.
Winifred Oyeta and other defendants are all facing trial for the alleged fraud. In another development, the court has ordered the Nigeria police to serve the former Imo State Governor Ikedio Hakim through a substituted means in the case concerning an allegation of blackmail leveled against him. Hakim and one Chinedu Okparike are facing charges of allegedly blackmailing one Mrs. Chinyere Amunchienwa for allegedly accusing them of attempted kidnapping. Following the inability of the counsel to the police, Stanley Nwodo, to serve the former governor, the court ordered the prosecution to serve him through substituted means. The matter is adjourned to March 18 for continuation. Olaboderewa, NTA News.
Despite the federal government's efforts in the implementation of asset declaration through its Code of Conduct Bureau to ensure probity in public offices, many workers are yet to key into the process. Chika Ugu takes a look at the importance of assets declaration.
Asset declaration was provided in the Constitution to ensure that public officials uphold ethical conduct in the exercise of power.
Is a measure to checkmate illegal acquisition of wealth, by the civil servants. It's also a way of making sure that they don't take advantage of that their position to corner, government, belong properties, one, or to use that means, to acquire wealth to enrich themselves.
Public servants are expected to declare their assets like houses, lands, bank account statements, cars, and any other material or wealth at the Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB. This act is to be conducted at the beginning and end of tenure in office and is expected to be repeated every 4 years. Unfortunately, the CCB says that the level of compliance by public office holders in the country is not encouraging. Are there any legal implications for not declaring assets or false declaration of assets?
You don't commit an offense just because you have not declared, or that you declared wrongly, or that there are certain things you have not included. You've committed no offense. You commit an offense when, after the Bureau inform you that there are things you have not done well, and you still insist that you have done it well, or that you didn't, nothing is wrong with your declaration of assets form, then they will be entitled to take a second look at your declaration of assets form. If they still discover that there is what they told you is correct, it is at that point that you have committed an offense.
Assets declaration is a constitutional requirement, and all public officers are duty-bound to comply with the Constitution. In Enugu, Chika Ubu, NTA News.
The leadership of some socio-cultural groups under the banner of Council of Ethnic Youth Leaders is affirming belief in the economic agenda of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led government. This was the thrust of their summit in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf was there.
The present administration's economic agenda towards sustainable development is the major reason for this convergence. The ethnic youth leaders believe that a vibrant economy will enable President Buhari to deliver on the numerous infrastructure and developmental projects embarked upon, and as well complete all his legacy projects.
When revenue drops, government will be unable to execute the beautiful projects in the budget. And this ultimately reflects in the state of the nation, as government will be unable to discharge its function and responsibilities to the citizens. We affirm our belief in the economic agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari's government, and believe that the major key to the success of this government is that acts of economic sabotage must be blocked. This will enable President Buhari to increase revenue.
The council also notes that monetary value of the crude oil allegedly appropriated wrongly and unlawfully should be investigated, with culprits brought to book. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Now, we'll now bring you NCDC update. 479 new COVID-19 infections have been recorded in Nigeria in the last 24 hours, bringing Nigeria's caseload to 156,496. Data from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicate that the new infections occurred in 21 states, and the FCT, beginning with Lagos, which recorded 153 cases, Enugu 75, Rivers 50, FCT 40, Kaduna 18, Ebonyi, Plateau, and Edo states recorded 17 cases each, Borno 16, Oyo 12, Kano 11, Abia and Cross River State have 10 each. Taraba 9, Nasarawa 7, Bauchi 4, Bayelsa and Delta have 3 cases each, while Ekiti, Niger and Ogun have 3 cases each, and Akwa Ibom recorded 134,496 cases have been treated and discharged, while the death toll is now 1,926. And that concludes Nationwide. We thank you for being a part of it. Remember to stand with NTA in its stand against rape and rapists. I am Lydia Odidiochi. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.